Hey everybody, I'm Amber, a disabled gal, here to reveal or remind you that you're complete in Jesus Christ alone. Today I'm joined by Annie. She's the first guest on this channel, so a welcome to her.
Hi everyone, we're happy to be here.
Annie and I met at the QSMA conference recently, but Annie already knew of me. Do you want to tell them how you found out about me?
Yeah, so I follow a lot of interabled couples on YouTube, and your video popped up of how you met, and I watched it, and I just fell in love with you guys, and just followed you ever since, and been following you for I feel like at least 2 years or however long you've had your channel. And it's just been really cool because we just both happened to be at the SMA conference. And I saw you in one of the sessions, and I was like, wait a minute, is that them? And then I went to your YouTube channel, and I was like, that's them. And so, you probably don't know this, but actually, when you left, I specifically left after you just so I could say hi.
Oh,
Yeah. And then
sweet.
we just ended up connecting and exchanging numbers and talking more about life. And you've been really cool to have in my corner of like questions I have about navigating life and like relationships. And yeah, I'm just really glad that I have you as a friend and that you're open about things. Both of you are, and yeah, it's just cool to be. I was watching you on my computer, and now you're like in my home. Like you're real.
I'm real, guys.
You're real.
Yeah, it was so surreal to like meet you, and I met one other subscriber too there, but me and you live pretty close to each other, so that's
not too far.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just surreal to meet you in person,
Yeah,
and
you too.
it's such an interesting dynamic,
Yeah.
You already watched me and things, which I know that's why I put out videos so that you guys can get to know me, but when you actually meet, a subscriber person, it's like, oh wow, I'm making an impact through God's grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool how the Lord brought us together in that way, how like in his perfect timing, like when we needed each other the most, like he just made it happen.
Yeah. So. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do have a question that I've prepared for you. Well, for both of us to answer.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can remember it here.
I have it too if you need it.
Okay.
Okay, so your question was, what has my disability taught me about God? Or like, what has our disability taught us about God? Do you want to start or do you want me to?
Let's go with you first.
Okay. So, some things I thought about was, like, a big one for me is dependency on God. Like, I wake up every morning and I, like, physically can't move. So much so that I have to hire someone to literally get me out of bed every day. And, like, I start with such a dependence that, like, so much is out of my control that I can't do on my own, that I just, like, look up to God and I'm like, and I pray to him and I'm like, okay, God, like, help me get through today. Like, I can't do this in my own strength and I need your help. And I just rely on a lot. I rely on God a lot to provide and use his strength. And it helps me, like, let go of control whether I want to or not, to get through each day. And a lot of times, like, with able-bodied people too, like, they're so self-sufficient that they don't really have to always rely on God for every little thing. When we do, like, even just every little daily living task and care that we need, like, we're asking God to provide someone to help us with that care. And that's like a constant dependency, but God loves that, and he loves how close we are to him in that way. And God's all that we need, and he's truly all we have. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And you basically expanded on what I was thinking as well. Growing up, and even in adulthood, I'm just constantly reminded of depending on other people, it just never stops, know. And I know maybe from an outside perspective, they might think, well, your life is so easy because you get everything done for you. But it's really not that simple because we have to orchestrate those things. And not only orchestrating the shifts and everything, but then constantly explaining what you need, like the simplest things, like, my foot is not quite in the right position, or, oh, my sock, or whatever it may be, it can be really hard to actually explain things. And in those moments, I am just constantly reminded of, I am so dependent on God ultimately. And it's that physical dependence that does remind me of that.
Yeah, for sure. Another one, too, that I thought of was suffering. And most people don't think of it like this, but in a way, it's a gift because when we suffer, it brings us closer to God, and we have that dependency like we were talking about. And I have this thing, we can't like control how we suffer or if we're gonna suffer. Obviously, no one wants to suffer, right? But if I'm gonna suffer well, and I'm gonna make sure it counts for God's glory. And in my suffering, I've been able to help a lot of people because the whole world is suffering, and it feels unique to us, but really it's so common in different ways that when you truly suffer, you can relate and help so many people through your suffering, and God can use what the enemy intended for evil for good. And another thing is suffering well, like depending on God and still being and reflecting His character through that suffering. Take the time you need to grieve, take the time you need to process and talk to people and have like healthy people in your life and mentors to like help you through that, and God will provide that too. But also, like, it counts. Like, make it count for God's glory and treasures in heaven.
Yeah, it makes me think of that verse. I don't have it perfectly memorized, but the suffering produces hope. I think I might be getting that order wrong, but yeah, produces perseverance. I will put that on the screen here because I know I'm getting that order.
You know what we're getting at.
Yeah. But that's what that ultimately makes me think of. And I know a lot of secular disability influencers, they don't really like focusing on the suffering aspect of disability. I don't like looking at it as the main focus, but I think it's helpful to acknowledge it because, I mean, everybody suffers, but our suffering might just be a little more obvious in a way. But I do think it's helpful to talk about it, and not just act like it's not happening. I think part of the reason they don't like talking about it is because there's this idea that we need to kind of end people's suffering in a dark way. Like maybe you would put a dog out of their misery or something. But that's not the way we should treat human suffering. So just because we do suffer doesn't mean our life isn't valuable. So I think it's helpful to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and I think they also like don't talk about suffering because like I know a lot growing up, like I always tried to be the average or above it, and like if I showed I was suffering or struggling, like I don't know, it's just kind of like, I guess that's what's expected of disability, is that we suffer so much, and so there's this stereotype of, oh my gosh, you're suffering so much, and like we as disabled individuals feel like, no, like we actually have a great life, and like we're trying to like prove that in a way of like, no, like my life is valuable and it is worth it and enough, and me just existing is enough. And like, so there's like that side of it too, where it's not always talked about because we're trying to like keep up with everyone else or like prove the stereotype wrong. But the reality is like we suffer as much as other people, but we have a lot of other ways where we suffer in different ways.
Right.
And we obviously don't want to compare who suffers more than others, but there are days where I'm just like, man, I wish I could just get up, take 10 minutes to get ready in the morning instead of like 3 hours, and just do it on my own, and just like have hours upon hours in a day to like work a job and like run or have a hobby. I don't know, just my time feels so limited because we have to be so scheduled to the point where we're planning our bathroom shifts around caregivers. We can't just go whenever we want. And because of that, we're really detail-oriented, like we were talking about. And it helps us with a lot of organizational things in life, but it also kind of takes away from like the spontaneity that I feel like other people kind of have that as a given.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of first-time parents say, "Oh wow, I lost my spontaneity because now that I have a baby, you know, everything is so planned." And when I hear that, I think that's my life already. Like Devin's laughing in the background; he's behind the camera. But yeah, I definitely understand what you mean there.
And another point too I thought of is like when I train and manage my caregivers, I have to exemplify the fruit of the Spirit, and the fruit of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against these things there is no law. Galatians 5:22 through 23. And I just try and like remember those things, and like, okay, like when I ask my caregiver for something, like, am I being patient if they get it wrong? Like, am I showing love to them in the way that I ask? And so like I'm like constantly checking myself on all these things, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm not perfect. And I have mornings where I don't even want to talk some mornings, but like I have to think about like this other person is like sacrificing their time to help me live my life and be independent. And like God has us care for each other in that way to like exemplify like His love for us too, and how we care for like the less fortunate or the needy or the orphan or the widow. And like I think that's a really beautiful representation of love when it's so sacrificial like that.
Yeah, amen. Well, there was a verse I wanted to read about dependency on the Lord, going back to the first point here. So this is 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. It says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me." And yeah, I just think about that verse so much with what we were talking about. Well, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
That's all I got. Do you have anything else?
Not really, but it's just so cool again to be able to meet you, and I'm glad you got to be on our channel, and thank you all so much for watching. I hope that video was edifying to you. If you enjoyed it, please check out my other content, and thank you so much to my supporters. You guys really do mean a lot to this channel, and God bless you all.
The video you just saw was made by Fallible Christians.
Although we diligently seek to represent the God of the Bible accurately, please understand that we are still being sanctified.
For absolute truth, please refer to the Bible.